Okay, we are moving on. We are now moving to 5B1, and it's our pleasure to welcome Superintendent Burke to our chamber.
Good morning. Pleasure to be here. Mayor Weinroth, Vice Mayor Weiss, Commissioners, County Administrator Baker, thanks for having me. You know, I've been here about, I guess it was 4 years ago, last time I had an agenda item, and you're gonna see us every 4 years. We did prepare a brief presentation, if that's the pleasure of the commission. And we'll just
I'm not sure if it's really necessary, since this is really a ministerial capacity that we're going to, unless Commissioner McKinley, you feel the need to have a presentation?
I think if we're authorizing this on the ballot, we should see where the money has been spent before we authorize putting it on the ballot.
I stand corrected. All right, let's have a presentation.
Nice to have an audience. Thanks. So I'll be quick. Okay, we're looking at the November 8th general election. We'd like to have this ballot question presented to the voters, and this is to continue. The key word today is going to be continue. Let's see. I need to continue to advance the slides. There we go. All right, so state statute enables the school board to turn to the voters for an operating, this is for our operating budget, to meet critical operating needs through a property tax levy. And we have been doing this since 2010. It started with a $0.25 in 2010. We were in the Great Recession. A lot of districts, we were experiencing funding cuts. We had lost over $1,000 per student. And we saw districts around the country sacrificing arts programs and music programs and things like that. So our board had the wisdom to say, look, we don't want that to happen in Palm Beach County. We value these programs. And we went to the voters for a $0.25 to save jobs. And that pays for now currently a little over 750 full-time teaching positions in art, music, PE, choice programs, and career and technical education. So it's very important to us. We did that in 2010, 2014. In 2018, we were faced with some additional challenges. Teacher pay in Florida was one of the lowest states in the nation. And it still has not really gotten a whole lot better. We had some more concerns around the mental health of our students and security in the wake of the Stoneman Douglas tragedy. So we turned to voters and we asked them to up the ante. And we went from a $0.25 to a full $1. And we were very specific in the ballot language how these dollars would be used, and we've always had independent oversight in place. So we are fortunate, voters, 72% approved our question in 2018, and really I'm here today to say we would like to continue what we have. The same $1 for the same programs going forward for another 4 years. This is the ballot language itself. There's one slight difference from the 2018 ballot language, and that's where this used to read district operated schools. It now just simply reads public schools, and that's because we now include charter schools. The law has changed since the last referendum, and then also we are now currently sharing the proceeds of our existing referendum due to a legal ruling. So that's one thing I'll be pointing out to the voters, that this, when we say public schools, that means both district operated and charter schools within Palm Beach County, which there's about 50. How the money will be spent, again, it'll continue to protect those 750 plus positions. A big part of it, about half of the money, goes to improving teacher pay in Palm Beach County. So what we're able to do to try to retain our teachers and recruit them, for 1 year of experience, the teacher sees an additional $1,000 supplement to their salary. The supplement does qualify towards their FRS pension benefit. And then when they get to 5 years, from 5 to 9 years, they get an additional $5,000 per year. And then at 10 years or more, it's $10,000 per year. So our teachers are receiving these dollars now. I'm sure they're grown pretty dependent on these dollars, especially with the rising cost of housing and inflation. So it's very important that we try to continue this. It has been successful in bringing teachers to Palm Beach County and hopefully getting them to stay in the profession. And then the other two pieces were the mental health. We added a mental health professional to every one of our schools, and that remains in place. And then we grew the size of our police force, and we bought some more security equipment, those type of initiatives, just to keep schools safe. I think I've covered this part as far as how the teachers receive the money. I mentioned charter schools. So charter schools by law will share based on their pro rata share of our enrollment. So currently we have about 22,000 kids in charter schools. That's about 12% of our total district enrollment. So they'll get 12% of the funds. And that equates to about $25 million per year. And then the oversight, we have an independent committee, all citizens, and they meet quarterly. They review how every dollar is spent. We have a very squeaky clean track record that we have adhered to our promise to the voters to only spend these dollars as stipulated in ballot language. That will continue, and the charter schools will be subject to the same independent review. So that's it. That's the quick presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Commissioner Kerner, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor, and Superintendent Burke, thank you for your time here today. I don't want to distract from the issue that's before us, but I did, similar to Clerk Abruzzo, I wanted to commend you on your leadership of the district under difficult circumstances. It's oftentimes not just about the chief executive, but who you surround yourself with. And I think you guys did a wonderful hire in Chief Sarah Mooney. I'm excited for the future of the law enforcement agency under your command. And working with your Chief of Staff, Mr. Jay Bodges, has been a true delight in helping resolve constituent issues that kind of cross over from county government to the school district. And as a product of the school district and county resident and local leader, I can tell you that I'm happy to offer the motion to authorize this. I'm happy to vote for it, and I think that it's certainly money that will be very well spent on one of the most important governmental missions and functions that we have as a community. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
All right, I'm going to accept that motion. I have a second by the Vice Mayor. We're going to continue with our conversation. Commissioner McKinley.
Yes, thank you. You know, it is one thing to collect the revenues and to hire the staff and to keep the programs running. Do you see that it has made a difference in the performance of our students? I mean, that's the most important thing we need to share with the
Absolutely.
voters.
I mean, we're an A-rated district, which as a large district in the state, that's not easy. All of it is paying huge dividends. The teacher pay was critical to keep people in the profession. It's hard, you know, there's fewer teachers coming out of college planning to be a teacher. So we're trying to hang on to the ones we have. The mental health professionals, you know, we added that before COVID, not knowing that the pandemic was coming, and they are busier than ever because our students did come back to us after being at home for that extended period of time with more challenges as far as, you know, so it's not, and we have the mental health professionals. We also use some of these funds to contract with local providers, mental health agencies, that when students need, that we call it multi-tiered systems of support, if they need more than what we can provide, then we connect them with the right services. So school security hasn't, you know, that's still very important to us. All of it is critical to have. Our choice programs is really something we're proud of, with over 330 choice programs. And I think that's one of the things, it's a strength of Palm Beach County Schools that we want to continue to build on and grow, and making sure that we're preparing the next workforce. And those technical ed programs are just, you know, becoming more and more in demand, and that's where we're seeing more and more of the well-paying jobs. So every dollar I spent here helps support our mission.
And Mr. Burke, we have an item a little bit further on in the agenda here where we're approving a budget amendment for the Sheriff's Department to move a little bit of money around so he can contract and help provide some backup services to the school district police. Are the types of revenues that are collected under this additional mill, are those the types of uses that you spend that money on?
Yes, we had a police force before this referendum, but we've grown the size. We've nearly doubled it. And we are struggling with some vacancies right now. I think we're at 58 vacancies, and I'm hoping that our new Chief Mooney can help me address that. But in the interim, we have partnered with both the sheriff and a few of the municipalities around the county to provide, on a contract basis, school resource officers. So yes, these monies, if they're not going towards the position, if you have the vacant position, sometimes I have to redirect the vacant position salary and benefits to help cover the contracted service.
Right, and I look forward this Thursday traveling to Orlando with some of your team to look at the community schools program that they have up there, see if we can replicate it here. So you are definitely an out-of-the-box leader, and I appreciate your service. And 3 kids travel through your public school system, all in choice programs, all international baccalaureate students. One got her associate's degree, which was a tough road, but she got her associate's degree this weekend. Another one got a 4.0 this semester in her criminal justice program, and I've got one looking at opening his own catering business up in the Panhandle, and all products of your public schools. I appreciate you dealing with me, asking you to do this presentation and answer a few questions. As you know, the legislature has tied your hands on how much you can go out and promote this type of program. So I think anytime you have a stage to do a public presentation at the request of another elected body, you definitely need to take advantage of that.
I agree. I welcome the opportunity. It's great to hear the testimonial. Florida, I should have mentioned, we're 45th in the nation in terms of funding per student. So, 45th isn't good enough for Palm Beach County, and that's where our local voters have been so supportive to provide a lot of things we normally wouldn't have. And I think you see the results. And I am incredibly proud of the team we've put together, and I'm taking advantage of this opportunity to kind of take a fresh look. And I am interested in new programs and doing things. If we can do things better, great. You guys know my history, like 25 years with the district, primarily as the CFO. So I really relish this opportunity and am honored to get the chance to serve as superintendent. And I want to make the most of the time I have to try to continue to advance our good cause here. So thank you.
And to hang the help wanted sign, they need teachers, bus drivers, crossing guards, and every other school personnel position. You guys are definitely hiring. Thank you, Mr. Burke.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Superintendent Burke, I want to thank you for being here. It's been a really tough year for our school board members, and so I want to personally thank all of the school board members for their hard work during through COVID. So I'll make sure I'll name them. Our school board chair Frank Barbieri, the vice chair Karen Brill, Erica Whitfield, Alexandra Ayala, Barbara McQuinn, Marsha Andrews, and Dr. Debbie Robinson. During the past years, I've had the chance to do the Ethical Governance Day, going to the different schools, and the last one that I went to was at Dwyer, and it was just I had such a phenomenal experience meeting the students and some of the teachers. Our school board member Erica Whitfield and our judge who handles that program. It's so important for us to continue to provide ethical governance. For them to see some of our elected officials. I know Commissioner Kerner, we were at Spanish River also, and I've been at West Boca and also Atlantic High School because the kids need to continue to see us as their elected officials and for them to ask us questions. And finally, I have two kids who are in the art program. One's at Dreyfus and one's at BOCC, and we need this to continue to have our kids to have the proper education, because art is so important, the teacher retention, and also for us to continue to provide public safety for our students and also to address mental health need. This is truly needed, and I do hope that the voters support this. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll share your gratitude with the school board. I appreciate that.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Superintendent Burke, for being here today and making this presentation for us. I want to send my kudos to you as well and to your staff. Last week I had an opportunity to visit North Grade Elementary in Lake Worth, which is a new school in District 2, or new to me, and so I try and make an effort to go out and visit the schools and talk about the resources the county provides or can provide to the families at times if they need them. And so Ms. Patterson was just very welcoming, and I mean the knowledge of the situations of the families there. I mean the principals are really engaged, and so I want to acknowledge that. I'm following up though on a question that was asked earlier of Clerk Abruzzo. Is it the same case for our school district? Is there such a thing as a donor?
Donor, yes, there is. We use that same term, that we're a donor county. Education in Florida is funded through a formula. It's the Florida Education Finance Program, FEFP formula. And it basically pools, they set our tax rates for us, and that generates the local share. The bulk of our taxes are set by the legislature. It's called required local effort. And then we're funded on a per student basis. So say roughly $8,000 per student. And depending if you're kind of a property rich county like Palm Beach County, in a more affluent county with a lot of strong tax base, you end up just paying more locally. So we're about a 70%, 30% split in rough numbers, I need to verify it, but it's usually about 70-30, which means we're generating, of that $8,000 per kid, we're paying about 70% of it locally, and the state's kicking in the remaining 30%. If you went to a more rural county with less of a tax base, you might see the inverse. You could see maybe 10% local, 90% state. So I would say the difference, I guess if it was an ideal situation, we'd all be about 50-50, and we're 70-30.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Superintendent, it's no secret we have a housing crisis here in our county. Workforce affordable housing obviously is impacting your ability to hire, as you said, police officers with your 58 vacancies. I'm sure it's impacting your professional staff as well. One of the facts that I had brought to the table or one of our last meetings is the fact that 22% of our adults in Palm Beach County are functionally illiterate, and that 40% of the students who are arriving at 4th grade are not reading at grade level. These are key indicators of their future. And obviously, if we're going to be able to attack the affordability of housing, people have to be able to earn a good salary. What can we do to take this number, which, 60% to me is failing?
Yeah.
How do we get our literacy rate up to something that I would call at least a C+?
I agree. That's our greatest challenge. That was our previous 5-year plan, which has just recently come to a conclusion. That was one of the key metrics to get 3rd grade reading up to 75%. We did not really move the needle. I think we have to start earlier. If possible. As superintendent, I get to sit on the Children's Service Council. I thought it was very interesting. I was hearing a report there, and they find that 52% of the students are ready for kindergarten when they arrive. And then we get to 3rd grade reading, we're at 54%, and I suspect there's a pretty strong correlation there. But we have recently implemented a new curriculum for K2 reading, or K3 reading, I should say, that's more it's phonics based. It's kind of going back, I think, to the way I was taught how to read and sounding out the words. And we call it, it's the foundation. So we're going back to the foundations of reading and really stressing that. So I've been impressed with the training that's been provided our teachers this year, the new materials, and it sounds simple, but I hold some hope that we're going to see benefit from that, going back to that phonics base where they're sounding out the words. Our sales tax is paid for smart panels in all our classrooms. They're using those with fidelity across our elementary classrooms. So I'd say first we're going to teach it a little differently. And then if there's anything we can do to increase pre-K program availability across our county, if we could start, with some students, they just show up to us and they haven't had the same blessings or experiences where they're being read to or their vocabulary is limited. So to me, I think the real long-term answer would be to start earlier. And we have some VPK programs. We have a few district Montessori programs that start at age 4. Those students are in better shape by 3rd grade when they start at 4, and we can show that. So
I appreciate that.
That's a heavy lift financially,
Right.
but
I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about the presentation you made to the BDB just at our last meeting with respect to what you're doing at Roosevelt High, trying to revitalize that school, creating the STEAM program there, hopefully as a attraction, turning the tide around so that there's not a flight away from the school, but people coming back.
yes. So the school board's mission is to educate, affirm, and inspire each student in an equity-embedded school system. And one of the things I'm excited about is what we're doing at Roosevelt. Roosevelt Elementary School is a school that has, it's a challenging, it's under-enrolled school. They only have about 280 students. The school's built for 800. We'd like to attract more kids to the school. And the principal and the team have, I think, done the best with the resources they have. We feel like we could provide more resources. We'd like to bring in an arts program to go with music. And we're modeling it. The conservatory school is kind of an interesting case study where we had a very strong principal, Ms. Terry Stupas, that kind of bucked the system a little bit and did her own thing, kind of a little bit of a renegade. And she proved her point that she implemented what she calls what's known as project-based learning, where it's a different approach to teaching, where the kids kind of see the value in what they're learning, how it impacts the world around them. And also, it's part of that's granting the teachers greater freedom because accountability is so front and center in everything we do, with our schools being graded and our teachers being evaluated based on the students' performance, I feel like we may be a little guilty of stressing the standards and worrying about the test too much. And as a result, maybe we've crushed some of the joy of learning and the joy of teaching and some of the creative freedom that teachers used to enjoy. So that's one example. Roosevelt Elementary, we hope to kind of follow the success of the conservatory school, grant the principal and staff some more freedom, and we are trying to raise some additional resources so we could put in musical instruments, revamp the campus a little bit to make it just a little more attractive and fun place to be. And I appreciate the opportunity here to share more of our plans at the school board. We have a great partnership with the county here, and I really want to continue that. I do want to take, while I had the mic, just an opportunity to thank you all and County Administrator Baker for the Wi-Fi mesh network that you continue to invest in to help make sure that all our students have fast, reliable, high-speed internet available to them. I got to go to Gladeview when we kicked that off and handed out the extenders, and that's going to continue to grow and really help level the playing field in a meaningful way. And when I meet with other superintendents around the country, they don't have the benefit of that. Like when that raises, people's ears perk up when I say, hey, my county's really made a big investment here. So we are like fortunate to be in Palm Beach County. That's going to be awesome to see. It's going to, first phase is 25,000 families we'll now have, and then we're going to grow from there. And it's just going great. So thank you for that.
Yeah, one of the benefits of the pandemic, if there's benefits of it, obviously, is the investment in broadband, which will have long-term impacts on business and education. So I'm happy for that. Commissioner Marino, you're up.
Thank you, and I would be remiss if I didn't bring up this topic. Superintendent Burke, thank you for being here, and I know you and I have spoken about this, but since we don't normally have the school district in front of us, as a multi-letter athlete in high school and as a professional athlete today, our physical health of our children is failing. We're 47 out of 50 developing countries in our physical health of our kids. If we don't do something about that now, the burden on society in the future, bad enough that they've got debt that they're going to get. Now they don't even have the ability to go out and work because they're disabled, which of course that was just a massive jump. But we need to do something to address the physical health of our kids, and it has to start in the school system. And I implore you to do something to make sure that it's continuous, not just in the grade schools and in middle school, but also in high school, because I know that you don't need many credits in high school, and we really need to get kids off of these and outside. I mean, at the end of the day, when I was a kid, mom was standing at the door yelling, "Everybody come inside," because we were all outside,
right, running
around doing everything. And we need to get back to that. We need to get our kids moving, and when they are moving, their brains are working better. So I know I sound like a broken record. It's the first thing I said when I got here a year and a half ago. But you're here. So the school board is standing in front of me. I'm imploring you, we need more physical education for our kids.
So I was thinking about you recently, and I was kind of the same type of kid and spent all my time outside. Now I'm spending a good portion in a dermatologist office. But the one thing that was really kind of cool to see, we are working on a new strategic plan, and we did this thought exchange, and we had about 24,000 responses, and people could respond to this. It's kind of a survey-based thing, but people could share their thoughts, and then other people could rate those thoughts. The number one thought around what we need to do for our students was more unstructured outside activities. It was 4.1 out of 5, and that was the highest. It was tied with one other item, but anyway, the community shares your vision. The challenge with that will be the scheduling, and there's a lot of requirements that are put upon us as far as what must be in the school day. But let me work on that. I think it just intuitively makes sense to me, and I think our community has spoken as well. So
I much appreciate it. Thank you.
thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Sachs.
Everybody cares, Superintendent, about education. If there's one issue that we could all opine upon for hours, it would be education. And thank you I'm so happy that you came from the CFO position to your position today, because I think so much of it relies on money. There's a couple of challenges that we have. Let me take specifically what my good colleague, Commissioner Marino, was talking about. I think a challenge, and I'm just going to mention about 4 or 5 of them and then later on, your staff can probably work on some responses, but our schools need to be open later. I was on the budget committee for education, and we need to make sure that the state allows our local schools to stay open later rather than lock up. And I know it's an issue of insurance, but maybe we can work on that with the staff to make sure that our schools are open later for educational purposes as well as for athletics, and that may help a lot with Commissioner Marino's concerns. Secondly, with regard to some of the challenges that we have, safety at our school bus stops. I wonder, we're going to write a letter to you, but basically you're here right now. So at some point, maybe we could have a report from your staff about the location of the school bus stops, what we can do to make them safer, and especially with the traffic intensity as it has been the last couple of months, really. And then I'd like to commend your office for putting in Haitian Creole at some of our schools. There is a law that was passed about 6-7 years ago with regard to 15 global languages. One of them is Haitian Creole. I'd like to see more of an implementation of these global languages at our schools so that our students are ready for global competition. Maybe at some point we could get a report from your staff on that. And then I'd like to make sure that we have a lot of new residential area developments that are coming in the agricultural reserve. We need schools. So I want to be sure that whatever budget you have in the district, that will encompass additional schools to keep up with the population growth and density in the agricultural reserve. So if we could have a report from your staff at some point to all of us here on the commission on those challenges, I'd be most appreciative. And then lastly, there is one person who works for the school district that wasn't mentioned, and that was the attorney who works for the school board. She does an amazing job. I know she does. And I just think that in these times it's especially challenging. Thank you so much for meeting with me and my staff. And at some point, we could have these challenges noted by your staff to all of us in the county commission, because these are important. Thank you so much, Superintendent.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very fortunate to work with Sean Bernard, our board attorney, general counsel. So we have a part of the great team. I do want to mention real quick, Ms. Baker's been very gracious. We're going to be meeting, our team's going to be meeting with some of the county traffic engineers. We have over 2,000 bus stops, so we're kind of always in some type of review process to address various concerns as the conditions change. And, but yeah, and we do a 10-year facilities plan, you know, where we do our best. We have a demographer, we project the enrollment growth, and we look, you know, we have acquired some land in anticipation of future schools. There are other parts of the county where we do not have land, you know, like in the ag reserve. So we would have to, at some point, either buy it or have some donated to us. So, but anyway, great questions. Again, I really appreciate the collaboration and partnership we have between our two agencies, and I think it serves our community better when we work together.
Not done yet. Commissioner
Okay.
McKinley.
Yeah, I saw an opportunity to bring up an issue since you're here before us, and I know James Green was in the room, and he might be hiding behind the wall back there. Mr. Burke, a few months ago, we had a situation at an apartment complex out in the Pahokee area that we actually had to condemn the building. When I was on site that day, there were 2 elementary school students, brothers. One of them had been suspended, and one of them was homesick on that particular day. The apartment that they were living in, I think both boys were receiving nebulizer treatments because of the black mold on the wall. They didn't have any hot water. I'm not even sure they had running water in that unit. The water heater had exploded and flooded the apartment. You know, the mattresses they were sleeping on were riddled with mold. I mean, you can imagine the worst case scenario. In my opinion, suspending an elementary school student and letting them spend the day in a home environment like that is not the healthiest or most responsible thing for a student. If there is a way, and I don't know, maybe we already have it, if there is a way that we could have a liaison between maybe our code enforcement and our community services department with your office or with the school district, when we come across situations like that your team is aware of the living conditions that some of our students are in, and maybe alternative disciplinary action can take place, or at least an understanding that the students' teachers might have of what's going on at home, and just some coordinations. I'm not sure when we shut something like that down that their team is made aware of it.
No, I'd welcome that. I'm not, I recall the departments being shut down. I didn't know about the 2 students in question. I can tell you that we do everything we can to avoid suspensions at the elementary level. It's something that we track for each school. We have like a dashboard of principals, kind of key data metrics, and we monitor that because that's really should be a last resort. But I'd be happy to work with you more on that.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Superintendent, we thank you for taking the time to be here with us today. We haven't voted on your request yet, but we'll get to that in a second. I just wanted to let you know during our conversation we received a non-speaking public comment card from Melanie Norberto, and she says, to help support early literacy, as the mayor and superintendent discussed, I hope people will consider the public library system as a resource. On that, we have
We have some great
motion.
partnerships with the libraries.
I understand.
Thanks.
Commissioner Kerner has made a motion to approve your request. Vice Mayor Weiss has seconded it. I'm going to look for, again, approval of the adoption of this resolution, which is ministerial in capacity under Section 1011.73, parens 2, and is statutorily required for the referendum to be held. All in favor? All opposed? Show that as being approved, 7-0. Good luck with your referendum, especially in the light of the fact that you can't put out any written information about what this is that you're asking. But good luck.
Watch until 20, we'll be in good shape.
All right, very good. All right, thank you, Superintendent.